Hello my loves and welcome to your Cosmic Weather Report for the week ahead. First of all, a very Merry Christmas to all of you that celebrate. I hope you have the most beautiful time with family and friends. And speaking of which, this time of year for some is a time of joy and happiness and love and togetherness. And for others it can be quite difficult and quite challenging. And the energy of this week is going to really kind of highlight where you are with this and bring a really profound opportunity for healing and growth and change. So first of all, on Tuesday, on Christmas Eve, we get Venus sextile Chiron. Now, this is going to bring a really beautiful opportunity to start to work through any worth wounds and to begin to really find self-approval and self-validation. And so if you are going home to spend time with the kind of family who always wants to ask, why have you not achieved this yet? Or why are you not there yet? Or why has this not happened yet? Take some time on this day to really begin to go in and find your own sense of worth and approval and validation. Because as long as you approve of and validate and give yourself permission for your own life and where you are, it doesn't really matter whether anybody else does. And so if you go in there already with this really deeply established sense of self-worth of this is who I am, this is what I'm doing, this is what I want, you're going to be able to handle things a little bit more easily. This also brings a really beautiful opportunity for deep relationship healing. And so if there are any relationships in your life where things are a little bit strained, and this Christmas period is going to bring a really beautiful opportunity for reconciliations, for coming back together, for really deep and meaningful conversations that are going to help things to shift in a certain way. So again, if there are any relationships in your life where you want to bring some more love, some more healing, some more good vibes, this is a really beautiful chance to do it, to almost like hold out the olive branch anywhere that you want to do it. And if you're not going to do it with that person in person, you can also do things like just calling them into your mind's eye, calling them into your heart, having those conversations, saying what it is that you really would love to say. And sometimes even doing that, even having that imaginary conversation with that person in the car on the way somewhere, you will find that when you actually then meet that person in person, something has really shifted. So this is a day for just a lot of self-presence and self-awareness and self-responsibility for how you're feeling. This is also going to be the final dark moon period of 2024. And so this is also going to really show us and highlight for us what we're ready to release and let go of, whether that is accepting certain behaviors from other people or taking on other people's opinions and expectations a little bit too much. We're going to really be able to see what it is as we wane down through this final dark moon that we're ready just to say goodbye to and leave behind in this year and set some new boundaries around. And so it may even be that you look at that before going into any family situations or social situations and just set clearer boundaries around that before you go in, of what you are and aren't willing to discuss or what you are and aren't available for. And that again is going to really help things. Now we also on this same day have Jupiter square Saturn. This is a really powerful and beautiful energy. Some of you might remember that back on the winter solstice in 2020, we had what was called the Great Conjunction, which is where Jupiter and Saturn met in the sky at 0 degrees of Aquarius, opening up this whole new kind of 140, 150 year cycle and really guiding us towards this Aquarian energy we've got now with Pluto being in Aquarius. So these two planets now are meeting in their first sets of squares, which is helping us to really assess. And as we know, 2020 is the year that our world changed in ways we could never imagine. It's changed completely. And so as we get these little check-in points now of these squares, we're being really asked, what changes have you made since then? Where have you come in your life since then? What shifted since then? Are you ready for this new Aquarian energy that's coming through and to play your part and to really step into something powerful? And so this is going to bring an energy of wanting to make really meaningful change in your life, especially with that dark moon energy. You're going to be able to very clearly see where you're ready for meaningful change in 2025. Now, this is going to continue this energy through into Wednesday. And so on Wednesday, it's the dark moon on Wednesday. We're in real dark moon energy on Christmas Day. We've also got the moon in Scorpio all day. So The dark moon is the lowest energetic and emotional part of the lunar cycle. Scorpio is arguably the most emotional sign of the zodiac. This, on the one hand, could be beautiful for deep rest, going inwards, time with loved ones, deep and meaningful conversations, that real kind of love energy. It could also, as mentioned, if there are any kind of frictions or tensions in families, it could bring those up. And so I'm telling you this because we are the lucky ones. We are the ones who are aware of what's going on in the skies. And so I'd ask you on Christmas Day to choose to be kind rather than right. And if you, throughout the day, can just choose to be kind rather than right, and to really hold the view that everyone is doing the best that they can based on what they know and where they are in their current evolution, that's going to really, really help things. And so this also equally could be a good day for those deep, meaningful conversations where you do reconcile and bring things together. But also just be aware that a certain energy might be there. And if you can be the one that just holds that center, holds the love, hold the energy of love, peace, vibration, unity, coming together, and choose to be kind rather than right, and you will be able to bring this into a day where there is just so much more beautiful energy to be held there. Now, Thursday then, we get Mercury opposite Jupiter. This is an energy of seeing the bigger picture, big dreams, big ideas, so much energy and inspiration and insight and intuition coming in. And so maybe rather than doing the usual Boxing Day slump, or at least do the Boxing Day slump and then take an hour or so out of that, this is a gorgeous day for beginning to dream 2025 into being. So beginning to spend some time daydreaming. What do I want next year to bring for me? What would my ideal year look like? What would I do? Where would I go? What would change? If I was going to look at the biggest picture I can imagine, the most beautiful movie of my life for next year, what would that look like? So spend some time on Boxing Day just dreaming, visualizing, really feeling into what it is you want a new traditional year to bring for you. And then Friday, Mercury then will square Saturn. So what this will do then is begin to give structures and foundations to those dreams from the day before. So this is where Saturn will come in and go, okay, this is what you want for next year. Well, let's start to put some plans in place. Let's start to get some ideas of how we could do that and how we could make that real and how we could make that happen. So Friday, there might be a nice day in that little, is it betwixtmas that we call it, that little in between Christmas and New Year time, to begin to write down those dreams, and then a couple of ideas of how could I make that happen? What would that look like? How could that work out? How could that be? And begin to put some little plans in place of what it is you're going to do. This will set you up really well for the Capricorn new moon that's going to come at the beginning of the following week as well. Now, Saturday then, another really nice day on Saturday, Venus squares Uranus. And so again, especially depending on how your Christmas period has been, Venus squaring Uranus is a lot about relationships. So this might be where you are reevaluating relationships in your life. How do you want certain relationships or need them to be different next year? What needs to change in certain relationships? How do you need to change in certain relationships? Relationship with self. What's your relationship with yourself like? How can you deepen that moving into a new traditional year? What little rituals can you put in place to make sure that you're really spending time with yourself? And then this also brings an energy of wanting to really liberate yourself from old patterns and beliefs that have limited you and who you are. So again, if you've noticed that you are a certain way around family, or you tend to shrink, or this happens or that happens, you become a slightly different version of yourself, or you turn back into teenage you again. This is such a good time now to look at what are those old patterns and limiting beliefs and stories that sometimes keep me in perpetual cycles and playing out and repeating these same things over and over. And how am I ready to now free myself from that, to move into next year differently, to say I don't want to keep telling the same story of what happened in my childhood or in my past, or I don't want to keep telling the same story of these relationships in my life and how they've made me how I am today. I want to let those stories go so that I can begin to really tell a new story for myself in 2025. So this is going to be an energy of liberation, of freedom, of this is who I am, this is who I want to be. And it also, again, brings about that need for sudden change. On this day, we're like, that's it. This is what I want to do with my life. This is who I am. This is what I want to do. I want to live my own life next year on my own terms. And this is what I want to make happen. So again, this like sudden change energy. And then this is all going to be so beautifully wrapped up for us at the end of the week on Sunday when Chiron stations direct. Chiron is that wounded healer of the zodiac, and Chiron has been retrograde since July in Aries. And in this Chiron retrograde, Chiron's been showing us our worth wounds, where we don't feel good enough, where we don't feel worthy, where we don't feel like we have anything really to offer to the world or to the people around us. It's been taking us into our real kind of stories around our hurts and our woundings. And 2024 has been a big year of healing for so many people. There's been a lot of big healing going on this year. As Chiron now stations direct, we're going to take everything we've learned, and especially over this Christmas period, you know, what's that saying that if you think you're enlightened, go and spend a week with your family? It's come at a really beautiful, perfect time, because even this week, even if you've got a beautiful relationship with your family, it can still sometimes take us into those old little patterns and stories and woundings. And so Chiron going direct now at the end of the week, right before we move into a new year, is going to ask us to just really revisit all of those perhaps little triggers, all of those little things that have come up, all of those little worth wounds that have come up, all of those ways that we perhaps still seek permission or validation outside of us, all of the ways in which we feel less than or not worthy, and ask us now to really learn from all of that and to take what we've learned and to do things differently now going forward. So it's almost like we've been through this big healing process, and Chiron then is going to say, well done, you did it, you made it, you've done the healing, you've been through the hard times, you've been through the dark times, you've taken on the challenges, you've dug in deep, and you've learned, and you've grown, and you've expanded, and you've evolved, and you've seen your own patterns and woundings and hurts. And now we release them, we heal them, we let those little scabs heal over. Maybe there's always going to be a little scar there, but now we let things heal, we let them go, and we choose now to move forwards as this new, more whole and healed version of ourselves. And we take what all of those things have taught us, and we do things differently going forward. So Chiron's going to give us this really beautiful energy to walk into a new traditional year more healed, more whole, more worthy, more in touch with yourself and with a deep knowing of who you are and what you have to offer to the world. This deep sense of, but you're you. And all you ever need to give us is you. As long as you're giving us you, authentically, honestly, truly, messily, perfectly imperfect you, that's all we ever want and need. And so Chiron moving direct is going to give us this chance to be like, just be you, especially with that Venus square Uranus energy the day before. At the weekend, I want you to really feel into, who do I really want to be next year? How do I really want to move through the world next year? How do I want to show up next year? And that's the energy I want you to start to embody, and then begin to step into that energy now. Begin to grow into and become that version of you now. And then when we get that Capricorn new moon that's going to come next Monday, week on Monday, this is when we really start to embody that future self version of us. And I'll talk more about that in our next Cosmic Weather Report when I come back to you next week. In the meantime, I send you so much love and so much healing and so many good vibes for this week. And once more, if you do celebrate Christmas, have a beautiful Christmas. Whatever it is that you're doing, know that you are surrounded by my love. And just thank you again to this community for all of the love and the support and the shares this year. It truly means the world. And this community is one of my favourite things I've ever created. So thank you for being part of it. Merry Christmas, and I'll be back with you next week.